Howdy again everyone, and today we're checking out a very cool updated optic from Astrhori, a 28mm f13 2x Macro Periprobe 360 degree lens. Yes, it's a probe lens that can see around corners. Now some of you might be thinking, Chris, you've already tested this lens, what's up with that? Well, Astrhori have just updated the design in a very simple but very helpful way. The base of the lens can now easily twist 360 degrees. That enables you not only to adjust your angles and shots much more easily, but it also opens up some pretty creative new options for video work, enabling you to spin your footage around if you so desire. Handy. It's also good to know that, because this is a feature on the base of the lens, you can attach Astrhori's normal probe end to it, as well as the periscope style periprobe end, so it gives you some real nice options. I'd like to thank Astrhori very much for sending me a copy of this very unusual optic for testing, although as usual, it'll be an independent review. The rear 360 degree turning base with a periprobe attachment costs about $940 in the US or £900 here in the UK, and it'll be available for Canon EF, Canon RF, Nikon Z, Fuji X, L-mount Alliance and Sony E-mount cameras, which is the version I'll be testing here today. It offers a full frame image circle. You can also get a double set offering the base lens with 360 degree turning and both the normal probe and periprobe ends for $1,400. For anyone doing the kind of specialist video work that this lens is uniquely useful for, that's a reasonable price. And for a bit more of an idea of some of the applications for this lens, here's Astrhori's explanation video, which I'll play in the background for a minute before showing you some of my own footage. This review is going to be much simpler and shorter than normal for the simple reason that my testing setup is 100% not designed for periscope style lenses at all, and the mere thought of trying to complete my standardized tests gave me massive anxiety. But that doesn't really matter too much because this lens is obviously primarily designed for video work rather than stills photography, so the need to pixel peep at test charts isn't really there so much. All the same, I'll do the best I can in my coverage today. I should mention that, although it's designed to shoot at up to 2x macro distances, it can still shoot at infinity also. The entire front end of the probe is waterproof, able to be submerged up to 25 centimeters, mind your camera when shooting around water though. And to top it all off, there's a series of LED lights at the end which can be adjusted to various strengths. Unfortunately, they're not powered by your camera though. You will need a separate USB battery pack to power them, which plugs in at the rear. Any USB power source will do, such as a small portable recharger. Those lights are really helpful, although, as you'd expect, they have a dramatic impact on your final image, for better or for worse. The build quality of the lens is real nice, metallic, tough and tightly assembled. It even comes with its own carry case. The rear of the lens is not weather sealed, but as I mentioned, the front probe is waterproof. Next comes the new control for 360 degree twisting. It can be loosened or tightened using the protruding side knob, and it's geared and turns quite smoothly, although I do wish it had a little bit more damping. That would have been helpful for if you're hand holding it and trying to turn it. So if you have just the right filming setup though, it can be used very effectively. Just on from that, there's a metallic geared focus ring that turns very precisely and a little heavily. In front of that comes the aperture ring, enabling you to adjust between f13 and f40 for extra depth of field, although obviously because of diffraction, the lens is never going to be especially sharp at those dark apertures. The lens, as you can see, is easy to use. You will want to have a sturdy rig with a decent slider to take full advantage of it though, or a very high quality tripod with a good head on it. Handheld video work will be totally unacceptable with this lens. This really is something for professionals with a decent setup. When it comes to still photography, well, I wouldn't bother really. Its narrow aperture and periscope design make it just a pain to use. Stick with video on this one, where I found that sharpness and contrast were fine. Astrhori seem to have maintained that quality despite the unusual design. Overall, you will definitely want to know what you're doing to properly handle this crazy piece of kit, but if you do, well, its quality is all there, it works great, it's not bad value for such a specialist piece of kit, and it'll serve you well. The new 360-degree twisting feature is more helpful than you might think, and it doesn't seem to have increased the price of the lens, so that's a very welcome new feature indeed.